think if Richard said that her album was not good, I think I believe him. I never imagined that Karen would go off and do a solo album with someone else, with some other producer, because I think that Richard was perfect for her. They could discuss the changes and whatever they would discuss, because he would find the song for her. And I think that she was just trying to find an excuse to run away. So she spread her wings and tried to do a different song, trying to do a little jazz or South American stuff, whatever she did. I'm not quite sure, but I think that was the period where she was just trying to just put things behind her. And I think the news about Richard going, to rehab was not pleasant either, and so he was already losing it, and I think that made her upset. And I think that the fire in that family started up, and both got off tracks. So, but I thought for sure that she would be strong enough to come back, and I think if she had come back and had Richard look for some music for her, or write some, or go to Paul Williams, and find something for her, and maybe give her a different type of spin, that he would be great at it, and she didn't have to go, making albums with somebody else. But no, it never occurred to me that she would do that. But I think the only thing that tells me that she wanted to just get away, and she wanted to find a way out. And I think the eating disorder was the only thing that she can control. She can control that, and nobody could tell her what to do. And and I don't know if what she had in mind, if she had an end in mind, but I don't think so. I think that she was just punishing herself or somebody, and saying, that I'm going to do this, and I'm doing it. That's it, and you can't say anything. So.
I think Karen Carpenter wanted to do a solo album to see what it would be like to, be her own voice, essentially, and to not be a part of an act that was so defined. And in many respects, too, the fact that she recorded in New York City, that it was, at a very great distance from her family, it seemed like also a kind of expression of independence, a kind of, her effort at winning that independence and experiencing a different kind of life all around.
Yeah, I've often thought about Karen and what that must have felt like to not walk away, but take a step back and go in another direction. And I think maybe Dolly taught us that when you feel in your gut it's time, which is why Porter Wagner was so... can you imagine saying goodbye to your mentor? That's what Karen did with her brother. So not only is it her mentor, she's related to him. That must have been hard. But what I call it is, I think Karen bet on herself. And again, a great lesson as a girl to watch someone bet on themselves. Because I thought, oh no, she's leaving her brother. But then, she was stronger, I think, at the end for it. She probably learned more about herself during that time than she ever bargained for. That is also not easy when you start really learning your own crap, what you really, really can do and what you really need, what she relied on him for. But it was awesome to watch and to remember. And she still had success. She is Karen Carpenter, and it must have been hard for him too, I think. But the truth is, they will always be a duo. One without the other does exist, but it's no accident that God put them in the same family.
I think that recording the solo album was also breaking free from the lead sister role. I think it was an occasion to spread her wings creatively and to maybe receive some acclaim and recognition for herself as a vocalist, and also as somebody who makes her own musical decisions, right? So even though she's part of the decision-making process, certainly Richard, as arranger, composer, producer, often, wasn't, was the person who was in the lead of those choices. So Karen wasn't, at the center of those decisions. And here she could be the person who said, well, I want to sing that kind of song. I want to veer off and try this new thing. I want to do some dance music. And I want to sing in a different vocal setting than maybe what is associated with my singing the Carpenters.
I think if Richard said that her album was not good, I believe him, because he knows Karen's voice. He knows the arrangement. He can he sees a song and he hears it, and he just, the wheels start turning. And I think when he listened to that, he didn't particularly like her voice in that type of music, in that type of style. He didn't like the style, because the songs were not bad songs, but the style that they were done in was, they were a little bit sad. I'm sure that Agnes would think that if Karen went off on her own, that she would make it, but Richard wouldn't. I mean, he might write songs, he might do that, but Karen would be the one that would take this success, because her voice is the one. Nobody looks at the album and says, oh, Richard Carpenter produced it. They say, oh, Karen Carpenter is singing it. So, and the public is simple. They don't, unless you're an album collector or a music buff, you don't, you just listen to music and hear what pleases you.
I think the fact that she chose to record the album when Richard was taking care of his own personal problems, I think that was a great occasion for her. It was sort of an escape. It was an opportunity to be kind of free from any obligations that might arise because he was otherwise indisposed. So in that sense, it was a sort of expression of emancipation. I think that musically, it's also a kind of declaration of independence, because she does dance music. She does music that sounds a little bit more R&B, more Quiet Storm. I think that she's experimenting with genres that the Carpenters wouldn't have experimented with, even in their kind of broad eclecticism by the late 70s. And so, you get her also speaking more explicitly about her body and her sexuality. My body keeps changing its mind. And, that's who would have thought Karen Carpenter would sing something like that back in 1973. And I think it was a way of breaking that four shoes, goody two shoes image that stuck to her forever.